As we have been telling you all afternoon and all morning, this is the second day of former President Trump's hush money trial in Manhattan, now underway. Now, day one ended with no one chosen to be on the jury. And for more analysis, I am joined by former Assistant District Attorney Jeremy Saland. So we knew this was going to be difficult to find jurors who could be unbiased in such a high-profile case. But did they expect it to be perhaps this difficult, you think?
Yeah, I don't think this is unexpected. I've been on trials for far less significant matters, and while they're always significant to the person who's accused, but nothing as complex and with much notoriety, that take days. So I would expect this is measured in weeks, and certainly north of a week, certainly 2 weeks is absolutely possible.
Wow. And you know, people may recall if they have been on a jury before and they say that they don't feel like they could be a good juror, they're asked, well, why do you think that you can't be impartial to something like this? They were not asked this yesterday in court. They were simply excused. So what does that say about this case?
Yeah, I think Judge Merchan is trying to expedite this and be efficient, and he knows that there's going to be a lot of people who have anxiety or turmoil or opinions one way or another that don't want to have them on that, they don't want to be on that jury. So in lieu of going to each and every person, and I would remind you that Trump did not waive what's called his antimarchy right, so he would have a right to be present when there's questioning of jurors on a sidebar. It would take epically long if we did that for each of these potential jurors. So this is moving it forward very expeditiously.
Let's talk about that relationship between Judge Merchan and former President Donald Trump. The judge denied his recusal motion yet again yesterday. Trump, even this morning, went out in front of the cameras and said that he thinks the judge is extremely biased and should excuse himself. How is this going to play out throughout this trial, this tense relationship between the judge and Trump?
Yeah, generally speaking, and being generous, Trump is being beyond foolish. It works in the political arena and it may serve him well outside the four corners of that courtroom, but inside it does him no favors. That being said, Judge Merchan is about business, and he is not going to, I believe, sort of get upset and show his emotion and take an impassioned view that's not following and adhering to the law, because he knows, just like the prosecution knows, one of Trump's angles is going to be set something up for an appeal. And if the judge takes the wrong step, not because it's the law or because it's something that he feels emotionally about and he's being harassed by Donald Trump, that could be bad for the case, even if there's a conviction for later on. So Judge Merchan is going to stay that course.
It was a long day in court yesterday, and accounts from inside of the courtroom. It suggests that Trump appeared to be nodding off at certain points, maybe sleeping a little bit in the courtroom. If that is indeed the case, how does that look in a court like this?
Again, I use the term being generous. It would be being generous to say it would look bad. It would be really, really terrible. If I'm a juror and I am going through what is probably palpable degree of anxiety, and I have fear that I'm here, my name is not necessarily going to be provided publicly, and then I have the former president who's just, or any defendant for that matter, nodding off, that's a lack of respect and indifference and being very cavalier on something that is paramount to the justice system and these people's presence coming out of their lives to be here.
Something that stood out to you, Jeremy, was this limited gag order for comments about Michael Cohen. He cannot continue any other comments or he will be fined. Why does that stand out to you?
The prosecution has to get in front of that. $1,000 potentially, and there's going to be a hearing on this next week. $1,000 per times three, so $3,000 is really insignificant. It's a drop in the bucket for Donald Trump. But if they don't get in front of this now and set the standard on day one, saying he is violating your gag order, they don't want to find themselves at day 5, 10, 20, and first addressing this issue for the first time. They want to have that foundation and say he's already gotten the chance. Now hold him accountable.
Anything else that stood out for you in day one of court? I mean, do we expect this to be a long, drawn-out process?
Yeah, you know, this isn't Law and Order, which happens in an hour episode. Yeah. This is far different than that.
Same courtroom, but different.
Jack McCoy or whatever his name may be. But you know, this is going to be a very long process and an arduous one, and it's fairly boring for now, but it'll get more interesting as we start hearing testimony.
All right, we have a lot to watch for sure. Jeremy, always good to talk to you. Thanks for your analysis. We are going to have much more on the Trump trial throughout the day. News all day. We'll be right back.